Cool. So let's get started with this. And let me first of all tell you a bit about myself. My name is Priyansh Agarwal. Most of you who are attending this seminar or this webinar would kind of know about me, but just to give you some statistics as to why I am credible enough to talk about all of this stuff. So first of all, I'm an ICPC World Finalist. For those of you who don't know about ICPC, you can consider it as the Olympics of competitive programming. So essentially, when I say I'm an ICPC World Finalist, it means that I will be representing India. I mean, not me individually, but my team and some other teams from India. We will be representing India at the ICPC World Finals, which is like the Olympics of competitive programming, right? So very few people I would like to say like very few teams actually qualify from every single country, and they end up representing their country and also their college, right? So secondly, I also got India rank 1 in Google Kickstart. I don't know if you guys know about Google Kickstart. Can you write a +1 if you guys know what is Google Kickstart? Okay, some people know about it. Yeah, so Google Kickstart used to be a competition that Google used to run. It was like a coding competition. Everybody, from the world could participate in it. Mostly college students used to participated in it. And recently, what Google did was that they closed this entire coding competition because they had some budget constraints, and like the overall coding competition wasn't so profitable for them, right? I mean, it was like a, how would I put it? Like it was like a charity that Google was doing, in my opinion. That they had this whole competition that was running, and they were the ones bearing the cost. They were the ones bearing the cost for the prizes and everything else, right? So it wasn't really profitable for them. So they ended up closing the coding competition very recently. And yeah, apart from that, I got India rank. I am holding an India rank of 34 on Code Forces. I'm a master on Code Forces, which is like saying I am among the top 0.1% competitive programmers in India. Okay, and finally, I've been practicing and teaching competitive programming for almost 3.5 years. And lastly, I'm also the founder and CEO at TLE Eliminators. This is the startup that I'm running, which is also around competitive programming, right? So in short, 90% or 95% of my life revolves around competitive programming. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Okay, so let's get started. And let me go through the chat once to see if we have any doubts. Okay, I don't have any doubts here. I only see people joining and leaving. Okay, and fortunately, more people are joining in than the ones who are leaving. Okay, fine. So let's talk about what exactly is competitive programming, right? So first of all, it is a mind sport, like any other sport, like maybe chess or some other mind sport that you could think about. Even playing video games, I would say, is a mind sport. Like if you're, let's suppose, playing Hitman, or let's suppose you're playing GTA, that's a mind sport that you're doing. Like you're essentially using your mind and also your muscle memory, because what happens is that you end up using a mouse and a keyboard, and how well you can use that mouse and keyboard also determines how well you will perform in that game, right? So there are two things that are involved. First is your mind. How do you think about various situations? And secondly, it is also your muscle memory, right? For example, you know how to fire a shot from the gun by clicking the mouse, right? You don't have to always think about it. So that's your muscle memory. So in competitive programming, your muscle memory is actually typing. I mean, for some people, it might not be the muscle memory, because you might just be getting started with competitive programming. So for you, it might seem like that, okay, even implementing some very basic code, like maybe writing a for loop, might seem very difficult. But for good competitive programmers, top rated people, that's more like a muscle memory, that somehow we don't bother about how are we going to implement a solution, or how are we going to write a code. We just bother about how to solve this problem, right? Is this making sense? Like how I am relating this to muscle memory, and how is it a mind sport? Right? Essentially, see, what happens in competitive programming is that first of all, programming is the core fundamental here. Like you have to know basic programming. For example, if I ask you to find out whether a number is an odd number or an even number, okay? Let's look at it like this. Okay, let's suppose I give you a problem that I have 10 candies. Okay, I have 10 candies. I want to divide these 10 candies among two people such that both of them can get equal number of candies. Are you able to understand what is the problem? I have n number of candies. Let's suppose 10 candies. I have 10 candies. I want to divide these 10 candies among two people, A and B, such that both of them get an equal number of candies. Okay. Now tell me one thing. Can I do this if I have 11 candies? Can I do something like that? No, I cannot do it, because I cannot divide 11 into two parts such that both of the people end up getting the same number of candies. Correct? But if I have, let's suppose, 16 candies, I can do that. Yes. So what are you really doing here? Can I say you're just checking whether a number is an odd number or not? Yes or no? Yes. So essentially, the problem that I gave you was not to check whether a number is an odd number or an even number. I gave you some candies problem, right? And then you somehow could understand that, okay, it is all about checking whether a number is odd or even, right? That is exactly what happens in competitive programming. You're given an abstract problem, and somehow using your basic logic, basic mathematics, and also some knowledge of algorithms, you think about approaches to solve an abstract problem. Okay. For example, I mean, this might seem a bit complex for some of you. Like if you're given a graph and somebody asks that, okay, you want to go from point A to point B, what is the shortest path to go from point A to point B? Now, for somebody who doesn't know algorithms, they might not know about this very famous algorithm called Dijkstra, right? But for people who know, they can just directly, reduce this problem into Dijkstra and solve it using that. Correct? So what essentially are you doing here? You're using your mind to look at an abstract problem and then come up with a solution based on things that you already know. Are you all making sense out of this? Like, what did I tell you here? What exactly is CP? It's like an app, you're given abstract puzzles and abstract problems. You just think about the various ways with which you can code them up. Okay. So, and also, it's also about scalability. Like, when I say that, okay, you have 10 candies, you can directly tell me that, okay, you can divide it into 2 people. If I give you 11, you can say that, yes. But what if I have a very large number? Let's suppose 10,000. Would you try out all the possibilities? Or would you write a for loop for that? No. You would just check whether n is an odd number or not, right? So that's also about scalability. Like, as the value of your input increases, how well is your code going to perform? Does that make sense? And this is known as complexity. Like, what is the complexity of your code? If you are given a problem, if the input size increases, how does your code perform on that? I hope that makes sense. For example, one of the problems could be that, okay, find out the sum of integers from 1 to n. Can somebody tell me how would you find out the sum of positive integers from 1 to n? Can you think of a brute force method to do that? Yes, you could write a for loop. And somebody in the chat also wrote
use the formula. Sir, it could be done in 3 ways.
Okay, tell me what are the 3 ways?
Like to have the sum, first one, we can directly apply the formula. So it would be done in constant time. Secondly, we can initialize the sum and write a single loop for loop. And thirdly, we can do like that. We can write 2 for loops. First one, we can start from I equals to 0 to n. And second one is from 0 to I. So it would be like.
But why would you need 2 for loops? Like, I think your 2 approaches are fine. The third one seems a bit off. So you can think about it a bit more. But
yeah, we can use recursion as well, right?
Sorry?
We can use recursion as well, right?
Yeah, you could do multiple, stuff here. Like you could do a lot of stuff. But see, somebody in the chat wrote that, okay, we can apply this formula n into n plus 1 by 2, right? Do you all know this formula? That n into n plus 1 by 2 just gives you the sum of first n natural numbers? Yes. Now see, let's suppose your value of n, you want to find out the sum of elements from 1 to n. Let's suppose the value of n is equal to 10. So you can even do it with your hands. You can even think it in your mind, right? What is going to be the answer? But what if, let's suppose n is equal to something like 100, or let's suppose n is equal to 1 million? Would you write a for loop for that? If you write a for loop, that would take 1 million operations to find out the answer. But if you just write this formula n into n plus 1 by 2, it doesn't matter how large the value of n is. You are just having to multiply 2 numbers and then divide it by 2, right? So in competitive programming, you're also, concerned about when the size of your input increases. Like when the complexity of your input increases, how does your code change? Or how does your code perform on that? Does it take more time or does it take less time? Okay, so it's all about solving abstract puzzles using code, right? And being very, very less complex about it. Like, there are 2 terms: time complexity, space complexity. Time complexity is the amount of time that your code takes to run. Okay, space complexity is the amount of space, the amount of resources that your code uses to actually get the answer. For example, in some problems, you might initialize an array, right? Like it might seem pretty new for some people who are very new to programming. It's absolutely fine. Just try to understand it like this, that there are multiple ways to approach the same problem. Some of them are optimal, some of them are not so optimal. You end up spending more time or spending more space in certain operations, right? You could also relate it to this, like, for example, I'm pretty sure you must have used websites, right? You must have used a lot of websites. There is this thing known as load time, that when you click on, let's suppose, some website, how much time does it take to load, right? How much time does its homepage take to load, right? You can think about it in the sense of time complexity, that okay, if the coder who is implementing this website, if he writes a very bad code, then it might be that okay, this same load time is just huge. Would you want to stay on a website whose load time is 10 seconds, or would you want to stay on a website whose load time is 0.1 second maybe? Yes, you would want to stay on a website which has a load time of 0.1 second, correct? So that's essentially, you can relate it to time complexity. Okay. Secondly, you could also relate it like this, that okay, when you open your Chrome tab, okay, when you open a tab on Chrome, there is some memory that is allocated to every tab, right? If some coder is writing a code which is ending up using a lot of memory, then your computer will take some time to open it up and it will use a lot of resources. Does that make sense? Like, you would not be able to do a lot of multitasking if that particular tab on the Chrome takes a lot of memory on your computer, right? So that's called space complexity in a way. Fine. So this is exactly competitive programming. Like, right now I've told it to you in a very crude manner. What really happens is that there are platforms like Codeforces, CodeChef, AdCoder, all of these platforms. They have these abstract puzzles. Okay. Do you want to see what an abstract puzzle would look like? See, this is the problem on Codeforces. Like, they have this huge problem statement. Okay. This is like a story. Fine. You have to think about how can you solve it. How can you solve it using code? Okay. And how it happens is that they give you these constraints. See, are you able to see these constraints? That there are these integers, and they've said that okay, k, x, and n can go only up till 200. Are you all able to see this constraint? This is to tell you that okay, when we will be giving you the input, this is how complex the input will be. First of all, they tell you the story. Next, they tell you what are the constraints on the input. Okay, they tell you exactly how complex can the input be. And thirdly, they also give you some sample input outputs. Okay, for example, for this type of an input, this is the output that is desired. Got it? For this type of an input, this is the output that is desired. If you give a different output to Codeforces on these inputs, Codeforces will tell you that okay, this is a wrong answer. Let me show you some other stuff. See, you will see that okay, these many people are actually submitting problems on Codeforces right now. Okay, see, there are tests being evaluated. If you look at it on this website, there are tests being evaluated on this very moment. So there are so many people submitting a solution to a certain problem. Okay, now try to understand what is happening on these tests. See, running on test 18, running on test 77, running on test 3. What essentially would be happening here? Can somebody guess? What would be happening here?
It was running for those test cases, and
Sorry, can you repeat that?
it was running for those test cases, and this test case got wrong. It got stuck on that problem that it is saying wrong answer on test 5, and it got stopped on test 5, right?
Correct. So what happens here is that, see, when I told you that, okay, Codeforces has some constraints, Codeforces has some story for every problem, they have a lot of test cases. See, how do they verify that, okay, your code is actually correct? They would end up running it on multiple test cases. Okay. If your code performs well, you get this green signal, which is accepted. What is the meaning of accepted? Accepted means that your code was correct. This is what most of the competitive programmers, most of the coders look for. This is the biggest dopamine boost in our lives. Okay. This gives us more dopamine boost than alcohol or maybe drugs, right? This is that accepted verdict that we look out for. Okay. And secondly, there are certain other verdicts that you would see. Wrong answer on test 3. This means that your code did not give the right answer on this test 3. Okay. Runtime error on test 1. This is some other verdict. Like, in case you don't know about it, you can Google it up after this session. And then this is very famous verdict, which is called time limit exceeded. What do you think would be time limit exceeded? Any guesses on this?
Like if the code was expected to be solved in co-op, and then it might be taking co-op and square of login and like more.
Fine. Absolutely. How I would like to explain it is that, okay, there was a customer that, came to my website. And that customer was like, okay, I'm in a hurry. I just want to buy something. Let's suppose that customer came on Amazon. He only had 5 minutes. Okay. Amazon, let's suppose, could not come up with an algorithm to give him the right product. Would that customer stay on the website? No, they would leave after 5 minutes. Okay. That's exactly what Codeforces does. Codeforces says that, okay, I give you 2 seconds to evaluate your code and give me the answer. If you don't give me the answer in 2 seconds, I am done. I will not evaluate your code further. Just come up with a more optimal code, right? So every problem has a time limit and a memory limit. Okay, I don't see any memory limit exceeded errors here. But yeah, there is also this verdict called memory limit exceeded. Okay, if your code is taking a lot of resources, right? So if you look at this problem, I don't know. I can't open it. Yeah, I can open this one. This has a time limit for 1 second and a memory limit of 256 megabytes. Now, does this make sense to all of you guys? What was I speaking about till now? How
Can I
does this really work out? Yes,
can I
yes,
ask it out?
please. Yes, yes.
In one of those videos, you said that you will be giving a time complexity chart so that we can, after seeing the questions, we will be able to find out how much time complexity is required to solve this problem.
Okay.
Can you show that? I'm not finding it anywhere.
Actually, I don't have the time complexity chart right now. What I can do is I can probably share it after this session. I mean, you can find it on my LinkedIn actually. Like I've posted it on LinkedIn. Just probably search for time complexity Priyansh Agarwal, you would get something. Let me just Google it up. Maybe I'll get it. No, I don't find it here.
10 raised to minus 10 raised to 7 iteration is done in 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, you could go and look for it, right? You would find it on LinkedIn, most likely. I had made a post on this. Yeah. But yeah, not getting into all of these technical details because today's session is more about understanding what exactly is CP and is it really difficult? Is it easy? Why should you do CP? All of these things. Okay. So is this concept clear that what exactly is CP? Are you able to understand this thing? There is one point that you missed here, which is that how is CP competitive? How is CP competitive? See, I'll tell you how is CP competitive.
You should submit
There
your
is
code within certain range of time to get high rating. So you should be faster with your approach as well as engineering.
correct. See, I'll show you a contest here. This was a contest that happened day before yesterday. Okay. There are so many people who participated in this contest. This contest had so many problems, A, B, C, D, E, F, right? The more number of problems that you solve in a contest in a given duration of time, the better rank you get. The faster you solve the same number of problems, the better rank you get. Let's look at the standings. See, I'll just move to the very first page of the standings. Yeah, I think this is the first page. Cool. So if you look at it, see, these people, all these people solved the same number of problems. These people. Are you able to see that all these people solved the same number of problems? But some people have a higher score, some people have a lower score. How is that? The people who got a higher score are the ones who submitted the problem earlier than the other people. Okay. And if you solve lesser number of problems, your rank automatically, most likely comes down. Okay. So this is how it really works out. Like the more number of problems you solve, the better rank you get. The faster you solve the same number of problems, the better rank you get. Okay. And eventually what happens is that every person is assigned a rating. See, if you look at this person has a rating of 2282. Okay. The higher your rating on Code Forces, the better coder you are. Okay. So in terms of my rating on Code Forces, my rating is 2188. Okay. And that puts me at India rank 34. Okay. Now imagine how many people would be lesser than that. Like if my rank is, 34, how many people would be lesser than that? And there are almost 40,000 people who are lesser than that rated. Right. So essentially, the better you perform in a contest, your rating increases. That's how you end up being a better programmer. A better competitive programmer, not a better programmer. You could end up becoming a better programmer by not even doing competitive programming. Okay. Fine. Now let's talk about why should you do CP? Why is it done by so many people? Why is there such a lot of hype about it? Any answers on that? Why do you think people should do CP?
It
Should they even
increases
do it?
our
It proves that we are problem solver.
It proves that you're a problem solver.
Yes.
But
We can
you could
identify
probably,
which data structure and algorithm we need to apply.
correct. But if you just want to prove that you're a better problem solver, why not play chess? Just play chess, become the best chess person in the world, or in India probably, and that would also prove that you're a good problem solver.
I think solving problems under pressure is something which CP gives
Solving
us.
problems under pressure, cool. But then again, you can play chess, right? Why would you do CP for that?
Like in many cases, we don't like dev, so we have to choose a thing. Like many are not good in front end, and those things they don't like it, so they can
Okay.
go ahead with.
Fine. I mean, for people who don't like dev, okay, CP is an alternative. That okay. I don't like dev. I just want to do CP. There are a lot of people who do that. Okay, fine. What else? I mean, why would you do CP if you just wanted to focus on problem solving skills? You could probably play chess. If you want to perform under pressure, you could play chess. What else could CP help you with?
Because these are not done by other people's.
This is not done
To
by other
improve
people. Okay, yeah,
programming
that's a
skills.
good.
We
Sorry,
are we are
To
solving
improve programming skills.
improves your programming skills. Okay, but why do CP then? Why not do web development? That also improves your problem solving skills. Right?
Because like
placements.
we basically learn how to write the algorithms.
How to write the algorithms? Okay, fine. But
We
if you
will
just
be
want to get
improving
into
our
algorithms,
time
why would
boxing
you go
skills.
for competitive programming? Why not go for algorithmic research? Like if you just want to write algorithms, when you probably go for a software engineering job, nobody's going to expect you to write an algorithm. Why do CP?
Real worldwide problems.
Real world problems नहीं होती CP में. Nobody's asking you to solve a real world climate problem solve नहीं कर रहे हम CP में.
To solve
But
the
like
OA of
what I
different
think
companies
in competitive
in assessment.
like in competitive coding like where there are various hidden test cases that is being given. So like by solve like basically competitive programming covers almost all the hidden test cases, all these test scenarios. So that's why I
Okay.
guess it is a best platform to like it is one of the best platform to increase our algorithmic skills.
Okay, that's a
Also,
fine
every,
answer. Like I would take that.
also
Yeah.
every contest, every interview demand DSA round.
For
Why would you
placements.
do CP then? Like DSA करो ना बस. CP क्यों करनी है?
मजा आता है भैया.
Okay.
Different
सही है,
people would
ठीक है.
have
पहले
different
अब किसी ने
motives.
बोला मजा आता है. मतलब इतनी देर से सब बोल रहे हैं. Okay, algorithmic problem solving, pressure के अंदर perform करेंगे,
Solve
test
problem with code.
clear हो जाएंगे. Okay.
Yes, different
Sorry,
people
sorry.
could have different motives.
Yeah, different people could have different motives. Absolutely correct.
So it can help us with the online assessment because we are seeing that day by day the online assessment, the programs are being tougher and tougher, and the competition is also increasing. So
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I mean
The
that's fair answer.
the main reason I do is for dopamine hit. I don't know about others.
For dopamine is okay. Nice, cool.
We can
So,
get habituated to time boxing skills through CP.
time boxing. What is time boxing skills?
Like if we have given a problem, then we need to solve it in a particular time set. Like if we are given two problems, we need to solve it in 45 minutes or 50 minutes. Then we can improve that skill.
Cool. I think I've got a lot of answers, and actually that exactly is what I'm going to be covering.
और
First
हाई
of all,
मिलता high.
Yep, exactly that high that I'm talking about. This high, right? Dopamine boost. So yeah, the first reason why a lot of people would like to do competitive programming is because of the dopamine boost. Okay, like when I told you this accepted verdict that was there on Code Forces, trust me, for people who haven't started with competitive programming, you might not feel that. But for some people who have already started with competitive programming, that one single accepted verdict is like just insane. Like that gives you so much dopamine boost. Okay. And understand like this, right? You watch or you scroll through Instagram reels, that gives you dopamine boost, right? Does that give you dopamine boost or not? Like, do you somehow feel satisfied just scrolling? Yes, that is what you do, right? I mean, you just end up scrolling for probably 2 hours and you don't even think about it, right? That is kind of what happens with competitive programming. If you're into it for 2 hours, you are somehow so into it that you don't think about anything else, right? So you become very, very focused because, see, there are two things here. It's not just about being focused. Like if you just had to be focused, you could just probably, clean your entire room. That would help you focus. But here you're getting a lot of dopamine boost, right? Every single time you convert that wrong answer submission into an accepted verdict, it is just insane. Like I have solved, almost 3,500 problems in my lifetime around competitive programming. And I can tell you every single time, even when I do it today, it gives me the same dopamine boost. I never feel bored out of competitive programming. Okay. So that's the very first reason why you should do CP. Like if you're looking for some dopamine boost, right? And second, like I said, it's not just about, see, there are certain additional benefits that you get when you're doing competitive programming. When I tell you that, I am an ICPC world finalist, like if I write this on my resume, do you think this adds value? These three things that I've written on the top. Do you think this adds value to my resume?
Absolutely.
How does it add
Yes,
value to my
sir, a
resume?
lot.
It tells the company that you are a good problem solver.
That's why we are
It
here.
tells the company a lot of things actually. It tells the company that, okay, I am not just a good problem solver, but I am very focused on things that are given to me. Like if the company gives me something, can expect out of me that I'll be very, very focused on it because I have been focused on one particular skill. I did it for a very long time, right? And I also did pretty well in that, right? That's what the company also gets to know. Secondly, the company also gets to know that, okay, if this person is such high rated on Code Forces, if this person has such amazing ranks, then he must be coding pretty well, right? He must be pretty good with testing. Now, not talking about production level testing. See, production level testing is a bit different. That okay, some user comes on your website, he does something and it blows up the entire website. That's a different test case that we're handling. But when you're given a particular task and you have to think about test cases, you have to write unit tests. That is the place where this person will perform very well, because he thinks exhaustively, not minutely on single test case, right? He writes generic code. That's what the company gets to know. So when
Also,
yes.
It also proves that you can write code efficiently, means without utilizing much resources in optimal way.
Correct. That's also correct. But see, guys, there is one more thing that I want to mention, that competitive programming and software engineering are a bit disjoint. Okay, it is not so correlated that okay, every single good competitive programmer becomes a very great software engineer. That does not happen. Okay, and similarly, the other case is also not true, that every single good software engineer is a good competitive programmer. That's not how things work. Okay, so there are other things that also people do, like data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, web development, Android development. There are a lot of things that people do. Okay, all of these end up making you a better coder. Okay, it is not like saying that only competitive programming can make you a better coder. What I want to say is that if you perform decently well in CP, it adds a lot of weight on your resume. Whenever somebody looks at your resume and he sees that okay, this person is a candidate master on Codeforces, this person is an expert on Codeforces, this person ended up representing their college at ICPC regionals, it's a big thing. Okay, it adds a lot of value, because trust me, see, when you are talking about development, there is no particular method to evaluate you. Like for example, if there are 5 web developers, how would you identify which is a good web developer? One way would be to go through their profiles, go through their codes, go through their projects and everything, right? That's a pretty high time-taking situation. But if there are 5 competitive programmers, can you instantly tell which is a better competitive programmer? Yes. Right. So how I like to look at competitive programming is that even though it has other benefits like problem solving skills, dopamine boost, you enjoy it as a sport, there are some very good correlation of competitive programming with your hiring process. Okay, it will not happen with something like, let's say, chess. Like if you're a very good chess player, the company might know that okay, you perform very well in pressure, you are a very good problem solver, but they don't, they can't relate to it because it doesn't involve coding. Okay, somebody saying okay, people who clear GSOC can be measured. Yes, absolutely, that's a very good metric. If somebody clears GSOC, it puts you apart from the entire crowd, right? That's a very good metric to judge that okay, this is a good web developer or good software developer in general, right? So anything that puts you apart from the crowd, that adds a lot of weight to your resume. Just understand it like this. It could be anything. You might be, let's suppose, the founder of some company. That could add a lot of weight to your resume. Probably you are applying for a product position, not an engineering position, let's say. If you're applying for a product position, and if you're a founder at a company or a CEO at a company, it adds a lot of value. Like if you've run some company for, let's say, 2 years, like in my case, like I've run TLE Eliminators for almost 2.5 years now, right? So it adds a lot of weight on my resume in the sense that I've done something different. Okay, so for engineering, competitive programming comes as one thing which helps a lot. Okay, and this is like this is also one more thing where CP helps a lot. If you look at the hiring process of any company, there are 2 parts to it. One is the coding test and one is the interview. Okay, which one do you think is the harder part, coding test or the interview?
The coding test.
Out of the 2, which is harder?
The coding test, where most of the people gets eliminated.
Coding
And
test, because
mostly
repeated DSA questions are asked in interview. So coding tests are the new problems, and mostly standard DSA problems are asked during interview.
Correct. So the idea here is, see, when I am, let's suppose, a company like Microsoft or maybe Google or maybe Zomato or maybe any other company, right? See, there are a lot of applications that are coming to me every single day, every single minute, and every single second. Okay, how do I evaluate that okay, this person is good enough for me to spend my time interviewing them? That's a very big challenge for every company. Okay, now if there is some mechanism to, let's suppose, say that okay, this web developer is better than this web developer, the company would choose that method. But right now there is no particular method to identify which person is a better software developer, right? So there has to be a certain elimination criteria, and competitive programming or very advanced level of DSA is one of those elimination criteria that a lot of companies follow. What they do is that they conduct an online coding test and they say that okay, we have 1 lakh applications, let's just select 500 out of these. The top 500 people who perform well in this coding test, we'll only interview these people. What is this doing here? It is clearly saying that okay, this company only wants dedicated coders who've spent a lot of time on algorithmic problem solving, who are very good at problem solving, and not just like standard problem solving, but new, like creative problem solving. Because see, when I talk about competitive programming, you don't get asked repeated problems. When you talk about proper DSA, when you like, if you go for an interview, you will be asked DSA. Okay, DSA is all about standard problems. There are a bunch of, let's suppose, 400, 500 problems. If you do every single problem out of these, chances are that you will be getting a similar problem in an interview. Okay, but like, as the trends are changing slowly and slowly, companies are moving towards asking newer problems, especially if you look at Google, or if you look at companies like CodeNation, Uber, all of these companies who pay very, very well, they don't end up asking you that same lead code problem. It rarely happens now. Okay, like most companies would still just change the lead code problem a bit and ask you in an interview. But when you look at the coding test, trust me, it's a whole different game. It is not at all what is what you learn in standard DSM. Like you could either let's suppose be in the mindset that okay, मतलब कुछ लोग बोलते हैं CP important है, कुछ लोग बोलते हैं CP important नहीं है, मैं क्यों करूँ, मैं तो बस DSA करूँगा, right? You could be of that mindset as well, and that's absolutely fine. If you have something on your resume which is just amazing, for example, you went to GSOC, or let's suppose you have something out of the blue on your resume which is not related to algorithmic problem solving, which can also help you stand out in an interview and in a hiring process, that's absolutely fine. Some companies won't even take your coding test then. For example, see, if I am hiring somebody at TLE Eliminators and I want to hire a web developer, I know that this person went for GSOC, this person didn't. Can I just directly invite the GSOC person for an interview? Yes, because that would be like a good bet. I would say that, okay, this person might be a better web developer. So this is something that is standing out on the resume. But when you look at some general hiring, like all India hiring, nobody is going to look at 1,000 or like 1 lakh applications. They're going to run a coding test. People who perform well, they end up getting the interview call. People who don't end up performing well, they don't get it. Now, one way to skip this coding test is to just take a referral. If you are good at DSA, if you're good at development or some other skill, and if you don't want to get into competitive programming, just do one thing: become very good at some other skill, very, very good. Okay, like the top 1%. Go to some person in your network, ask them to refer you for a role. Even Google might be open to hiring people without a coding test, right? But the only condition is that you should have something that stands. Does that make sense? It's not like saying that you
Yes, sir.
need CP for sure, but CP is one of the ways to excel and to make you stand out. There are other ways, and which are absolutely legit ways. Okay, if you take a referral, nobody's going to take your coding test, so it's absolutely fine even if you don't do CP at all.
How much Codeforce's rating is sufficient to crank FANG companies interview?
1600, probably like 1500, 1400 also is fine.
Max
do you want
1500, 1600.
Do you want some good statistic? To people who are rated more than 1250 on Codeforces. I told you that there is a rating on Codeforces, right? Just
Yes.
now, people who are rated higher than 1250 are among the top 10% in India. How does that metric look like to you?
You shared it recently, I guess.
If you're above 1800 on Codeforces, you're among the top 1% in India. If you're above 2100 rated on Codeforces, you're among the top 0.1%.
Also, I think like I saw a video of a Googler, so he mentioned that the median rating, Codeforce's rating was 1650 in his Google office. So, yeah.
Oh, damn. But that would have changed after 2021. Like there was a lot of random hiring that happened during 2021 and 2022. So I think that would have
in a contest, how much question do we need to find to this?
I am not able to hear you. Can you maybe just write it in the chat? Let's first of all move on and see other things. I think this is the most obvious one, that okay, CP helps you improve your problem solving skills. We'll not get into this. Okay. And finally, this is the situation for every single good competitive programmer. You initially start by thinking that okay, I'll do very well in coding tests. You think about other things, but ultimately you only end up continuing it for a very long time if you have fun in that. For example, I did CP for almost 3 years. I'll tell you about my journey a bit here. Like I became a candidate master within my first year. Okay, that's among the top 1% in India. I knew that if I go for any interview, I go for any coding test, that would be a cakewalk for me. I could clear it. Okay, that was the situation for me. But I ended up spending 2 more years to push my rating from 1900 to 2180. 2 more years. Okay, it took me 1 year to go from 0 to 1900, and it took me 2 more years to go from 1900 to 2180. Right. So considering the fact that why did I do it? First of all, I was really enjoying it. Like I wanted to go for a higher rating. I wanted to go outside my comfort zone, right? How much question do we need to solve to become a candidate master? There is no right answer to it.
In a contest, I'm asking about a contest, not like that 3,000.
I am
like
not able to hear you. Like, can you just write it in the chat? Like, is it with everyone, guys? Like, are you all also not able to hear him properly, or is it just with me?
Am I audible?
For 1600 getting, how many question we have to solve in Div 2 contest?
Okay. In Dev 2 contest, I would say 3 problems. If you're solving consistently, you would be at 1600.
In how much time?
Just do it for 5-6 contests, you would be at 1600 if you consistently do 3 problems.
Okay.
And
in how much time, as in I don't understand. Like how much time as in during the contest you're talking about? How much time should you take to
Yes,
solve 3
means
problems?
in 1 hour or in 30 minutes or in 1.5 hours.
Probably like 1 hour is fine. Like 1 hour 20 minutes is also fine, as long as you're doing 3 problems consistently. Okay, let's take up questions later on, guys. Like let's just move on with this so that everyone is on the same page when we are doing these questions. Fine. Okay, now let's talk about how do you get started. First is I just rushed through these slides now. The main part was how do you get started, what is the motivation. Just a second, I'll mute you guys. Cool. So the very first thing that you need to do is master a programming language, because ultimately you have to code it, right? You have to code a solution. So which programming language should you go for? That could be the question for a lot of people. You should go for C++ if you haven't started right now. Why am I saying C++? Because C++ is one of the fastest languages right now compared to other alternatives like Java, Python, maybe JavaScript. Secondly, there is a lot more support for C++ available compared to any other languages. What do I mean by support? For example, when you're stuck on an error, when you post your error in some community, there would be more people willing to help you if that code is in C++, because more people would understand it, right? Because more people are doing it in C++. Simple. Now let's talk about how much maths do you need. Okay, and the short answer is you only need maths up till class 12th level, like basic permutation combination, basic probability, basic number theory. That's absolutely fine. You don't need more than that. If you think you need coordinate geometry, if you need proper calculus, you don't need all of that stuff. Or maybe trigonometry, you don't need all of these things. You need basic logical mind. Okay. Third thing is you need to learn about online judges. So when I showed you this interface of code forces, like I also saw a tweet by some girl recently on Twitter, and she was like, code forces seems very, very overwhelming in terms of the UI, right? And trust me, it is actually like that. Like when I was starting competitive programming, it was the same for me. When I went for code forces, it was so overwhelming. Like there are so many buttons, there are so many sections. What should I do? Okay. So initially, you should just start by understanding how do you submit a problem on an online judge? How do you participate in a contest? How do you select problems? And just normal, navigating through the platform. Nothing more than that. There are a lot of features on Codeforce, but you don't need all of them. Just try to understand how to read a problem, how to take in the input, output, how to submit some problems, how to participate in some contests. That's all. You don't need more than that to start CP. All right. Cool. And yeah, finally, there's one misconception that a lot of people have, that do you need data structures algorithms to start competitive programming? The answer is no. Why do I say this? That's more important than just saying that, okay, Priyansh said data structures algorithms mat karo, to nahi karenge. ऐसे नहीं चलती दुनिया. So मतलब why am I saying this? Does anybody know why am I saying this, that you don't need data structures algorithms to start competitive programming?
it is, hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is required after rating of 1500, I think. After that, segments will come from that.
Correct. See, the idea is that when you go on these platforms like Codeforces, CodeShare, in every single contest, there are a bunch of initial problems, and then there are a bunch of easy problems, then there are a bunch of harder problems. Okay, those easy problems only require simple math, simple logic, nothing more. Okay, they don't require data structures algorithms. But when you look at the harder problems, you will only be able to solve the harder problems once you're able to solve the easier problems. First of all, understand this. The harder problems are much harder than the easy problems. Okay, so when you look at the easy problems, there is just one aspect: problem solving logic. When you look at the harder problems, there are two aspects: problem solving logic and data structures algorithms. When you look at problem C on Codeforces, problem D on Codeforces, there are these advanced data structures that are required, like data structures algorithms like trees, graphs, segment trees, dynamic programming, binary search on answer, number theory, all of these things. Okay, but when you're starting out, you don't need all of these things. All you need is simple math, right? Like you would be getting those similar problems, like candies could divide kar do in two people, all of these things. You will have to just understand the problem statement, break it down into a very simple mathematical equation, all of that. I mean, just that much. You don't need more than that. Okay. So when you're starting CP, don't run after DSA, because DSA is a bunch of algorithms. See, let's suppose I tell you, you want to become a very good mathematician. Okay. Or let's suppose you want to perform very well in IIT JEE. Okay. When you want to perform very well in IIT JEE, there are two aspects. One, you need to know about the topic. Second, you need to know which topic gets applied where. Are we all on the same page here? That when you have to solve a problem in IIT JEE or in competitive programming also the same thing happens. There are two aspects. One is that you need to know about a topic. Second is you need to know where to apply it. Okay. DSA is the part where you get to learn what are the topics. Where you have to actually apply them, you don't learn them. You don't learn it unless and until you're solving new problems. This is hard. This is the harsh reality. If you're doing standard DSA, somebody told you that, okay, this is how shortest path algorithm works. This is how binary search works. This is how dynamic programming works. If you know this much, this is not problem solving. It is like saying you know a bunch of concepts, you know that you have the knowledge. Okay. It is like saying that, okay, some person knows how division works, but when they're given a problem on division, when it is somehow twisted, they're not able to. Right. So essentially, what you should be targeting is not to gain a lot of knowledge. You should be targeting gaining problem solving skills. Okay, that given a bunch of resources, how do you use those resources to solve the problem at hand? Fine. Everybody on the same page now? That, okay, you don't need DSA to just start. You can learn it alongside. When you get to a level where you are, okay, requiring data structures algorithms, that is the point when you learn. Because at that point, you would have enough problem solving skills to even learn it and apply it very well. Okay. So how do you start? You just go on some online judge, start solving problems, start attempting contests. And then there is this very important thing known as upsolving. Does anybody know what is upsolving?
If you were able
After the
to
contest, we need to solve one more question, which we are unable to solve during the contest.
Okay, cool. So see, there are two things. First of all, you need to understand how online judges work. After that, you need to start solving some problems on it. Try to understand the verdicts that, okay, this is when my code gets accepted. This is when my code gets a wrong answer. This is when my code gets a time limit exceeded, right? All of these things. Then start attempting contests. See how you're performing compared to others. That is where the real competitive programming starts. It is not about practicing a lot of problems. It is about competing in contests, making sure that you perform better than everybody else. That's what competitive programming is. Okay. Now, what is upsolving? Upsolving is the point where you solve problems that you couldn't solve during a contest. For example, in this standings page, you would see that suppose I open friend standings. I mean, I won't have friend standings here. So look at these people. You can see that 2,400 people were able to solve this problem, fourth one. Can I say only 1,000 people solved this problem, this second last problem? What all these people above them will do is that they will try to solve this problem, the fifth problem, after the contest. Why is this required? Why do we need to solve problems after the contest? Because contest में तो आप वो वाली problem solve कर पाओगे ना जो आपको आती है, जो आपसे बन पा रही है उस time. The problems which you're not able to solve, those are the problems which are going to make you learn things, right? So how you actually learn things in competitive programming is not by saying there are a bunch of 10 concepts, learn all of them, and then start doing CP. No. How you learn is that you solve 10 problems, all the problems in which you could not solve it, you note down the topics which it requires, you learn those topics, then you come back to the problem and solve it. That's how you learn in competitive. Are you able to see the difference in these two approaches? Learning DSA first and then applying it in new problems, solving new problems and learning DSA alongside whichever problems they're required in. Which do you think is going to be a more optimal approach? See, there are two things. One is when you have time, one is when you don't have time. अगर आपके पास 2 महीने बचे हैं प्लेसमेंट्स में, तो ये सब जो भी मैं ज्ञान दे रहा हूँ ये सब बेकार का है. ठीक है, डूइंग कंपेटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग, ऑल ऑफ दीस थिंग्स, अगर आपने स्टार्ट नहीं करा, आपके पास 2 महीने बचे हैं प्लेसमेंट में, तो जो भी मैंने आपको चीजें बताई हैं सब बेकार है. बिकॉज आपके पास उतना टाइम ही नहीं है कि आप अलॉन्ग साइड चीजों को सीख सको. आपको सबसे पहले चीजों को मतलब एक तरह से नॉलेज आपको सारी पूरी कंप्लीट करनी पड़ेगी और फिर आप प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग पे जा पाओगे. But when I talk about this approach of doing problems alongside, learning alongside, this takes a bit of time, at least 6 months, 8 months. But after these 6 to 8 months, you would be at a much better position than somebody who learned DSA first and then went for problem solving. Right? Are you able to understand why this happens? Because when you learn a particular topic, you learn it with the mindset of applying it in a problem. In the first approach, where you are learning alongside. When you learn all the concepts just in one go and then think about applying them, you don't essentially end up learning a lot of problem solving skills in that case. Okay, is that clear? So upsolving is one major way to learn in competitive programming. If you're upsolving those problems which you could not solve in a contest, you would be learning a lot. Which method is best for freshers? Trust me, if you're in first year, second year, my only suggestion would be to go for this approach where you learn things alongside. Okay, there is no reason of you learning DSA, DP, graphs, trees first, and then thinking about applying it. It will not happen properly. But for like somebody said, okay, if you are in fourth year, what would be the suggestion? I would say that, okay, if you have time, If you have 6 to 8 months, then prioritize learning DSA first and then spending the last few months in doing random problem solving. Does that make sense? For first,
Yes,
second
sir.
years, people, I would still not suggest going for DSA. Because see guys, when I talk about DSA, it's like saying कि आपको एक theory, set of theory और set of problems memorize करनी है. वो आप कभी भी कर सकते हो. अगर आप फर्स्ट ईयर में वो मेमोराइजेशन करने बैठ जाओगे, बाय द टाइम यू एंड अप गोइंग फॉर इंटर्नशिप्स इन थर्ड ईयर, आप तो सब कुछ भूल चुके हो ना ऑलरेडी, क्योंकि आपने पहले भी रट्टा लगाया था, अब वो एंड में आप भूल गए हो, फिर आप फिर से रट्टा लगाओगे, फिर से जाके इंटरव्यू में वॉमिट कर दोगे, राइट? यही तो करोगे. बट अगर आपने सीपी करी होगी ना पहले, like if you would have solved new problems, if you would have learned things alongside, by the time your interviews come, you would not even think about DSA. DSA would be your last preference. You can go and ask any competitive programmer and they would tell you that DSA is the last preference when it comes to preparation. Absolutely last preference. Why is that? Because उन्हें पता है कि वो नई प्रॉब्लम्स तो ऑलरेडी कर सकते हैं, वो जो ओल्ड वाली है उनको वही तो आने वाली है इंटरव्यू में. जब तुम्हें नई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करनी आती है तब तुम कुछ भी कर सकते हो ना. Somebody said, so what 2 things you said to do for second year students? For first, second year students, I think it should be just, solving a lot of problems, learning things alongside. ये मत करो कि पहले मैं ट्रीज पढ़ूंगा फिर मैं उसकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करूंगा, पहले मैं ग्राफ्स पढ़ूंगा फिर उसकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करूंगा. This will not work very well. Okay, cool. So the idea is pretty simple. You have less time, do DSA first, then do problem solving. If you have more time, like 6 to 8 months, just go for problem solving. Okay, and you can learn things alongside.
Like if I know DSA, like I have already done DSA, so now I want to continue the competitive program. And yeah, I'm comfortable with it. Like it's been 2 months and I'm comfortable. So how much time will it take to be a candidate now? Like for many people, they say it's like just you're never be going to leave that, so leave it and things like that.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब
And
you will never be able to become a candidate master.
instead you can solve 800 to 900 cheat code problems and they will help you.
And do what? Like what will happen if you do 800, 900 level problems?
Like they will be much better. And if you don't reach candidate master, then it won't be that valuable.
It won't be what? It won't be what?
That valuable to your resume than 900 problems on lead.
900 problems on lead code.
Yeah.
भाई देखो, सबसे पहले मैं तुम्हें एक चीज बताता हूँ, लीड कोड प्रॉब्लम्स की ना कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. मतलब दिस इज अ वेरी हार्श रियलिटी. लीड कोड प्रॉब्लम्स की, if you are writing in your resume 800 problems on lead code, it doesn't add any value. क्यों ऐसा है? पहले ये समझो क्यों ऐसा है. क्योंकि लीड कोड प्रॉब्लम्स कोई भी सॉल्व कर सकता है. You can go on, like there are scripts available right now for lead code. You can run that script. It will solve 1000 problems for you on lead code. अब अगर एक ऐसी स्क्रिप्ट अवेलेबल है तो मैं तुम्हारी जो तुमने बोला कि 1000 प्रॉब्लम्स मैंने सॉल्व करी हैं लीड कोड पे, why would I consider that as a legit thing? Right? And सबसे पहले, right guys, first of all understand this thing. There are 2 things. Somebody said that okay, if I don't become a candidate master, all of my efforts are gone. Like I didn't learn anything. Maybe like you learned some stuff, but you didn't get any validation out of it, right? This is what the main problem is. If you don't end up becoming a candidate master, there is no validation, right? And that's actually not the case. Like I told you, if you're above 1250, you're already among the top 10% in India. It clearly shows you as a person, even though it might not look very good on your resume. It shows you as a person that when you're sitting for an online coding test, you're going to perform better than 90% people. Isn't that good enough motivation? I would call that very good motivation for myself. If I knew I'm better than 90% people. If I'm above 1800 on code forces, I know I'm among the top 1%. Chances of me sitting for an online assessment and clearing it are like probably just 99%. Right? So it's not just about, like writing things on your resume and having things for validation. Like you don't always do things for social validation. For example, when you go and, do some charity, like there are people who do some charity and then they post on social media. That's validation. You're looking for validation. But for somebody who goes and does charity and doesn't look for validation on social media, those are the people who get actual happiness out of it. Right? So there are 2 things. One is that you're actually benefiting out of a thing. Second is that you're getting social validation. If you're going to run after social validation, you're only going to be found good in some other person's eyes, but you would not appreciate yourself. You would not respect yourself. Right? So this whole idea about running after lead code number of problems, I would say that's just bullshit. Don't do that. If you actually want to run after something on lead code, run after the contest rating. Like if you actually want to say that okay, I am doing very well on lead code, give a lot of contests. Get your rating, higher and higher, and that's going to tell you that okay, you are better than so many people. But solving 800 problems doesn't mean that you're better than 100 people who have solved 100 problems on LeetCode. जैसे मैंने 100 problems LeetCode पे solve करी हैं, अगर आप 1000 या 2000 problems LeetCode पे solve कर दोगे तो it won't mean कि you can solve a problem faster than me, या फिर you are better than me in an online assessment, right? Now does that
Like
make sense?
how much time you required to solve those 450 problems? You said
450.
yeah, that love of it. You said it in some of the things. I think it's Tiger.
I am not able to understand. What did you just say?
Sir,
He
my
is
question
asking
is
about
that
Let's first of all allow that person to ask, please. Let's
he
not
is
jump into
asking
questions.
about SD sheet में भी है ना?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's the question?
I
How
was
much
asking
time
about
would it
the
take to
same
complete
sheet.
the SD sheet?
No, for you, how much time you took to complete? Like you said, I think one.
Oh, अच्छा हाँ, मतलब
Were
it
you
didn't
able
take
to
a lot of
complete it
time.
in 1 month?
हाँ. During my internship, like when I was sitting for my internship drive at IIIT Delhi, like I hardly took around a month. I took a month. My ICPC teammate who was at the same rating as me on Codeforce, he took a week. So it's not about just memorizing all these problems, and like even if you end up solving that 450 questions sheet probably 10 times, you would not end up performing better than that my ICPC team who ended up just spending 7 days on that sheet. Why? Because these are the people who don't solve a sheet to memorize things. These are the people who solve a sheet to just make sure that okay, they've exhaustively completed everything. बाकी वो बिना शीट के भी उतना ही बढ़िया परफॉर्म करेंगे इंटरव्यू में.
Bhaiya, have you ever tried for Google? For
Sorry, can you repeat that?
SD role in Google, have you ever tried for?
यार मतलब पता नहीं मेरे शायद ईयरफोन्स में दिक्कत है थोड़ी, या फिर is everybody not able to hear him?
हमें भी आवाज नहीं आ रही वैसे.
Cool, guys, just write it in the chat now. Like मतलब बहुत मुश्किल है ऐसे समझना. I'm having to ask you guys to repeat it again and again and again.
sir, I have a question.
Let's pick up questions after the slide. Let's pick up questions after the slide. Okay. So see, I told you this thing that okay, you have this how to start. You start by solving problems, right? Which problems should you solve now? Which problem should you solve now? That's the question. And how do you actually solve problems is that you start with the easiest. Right now, you are at a place where, if you're not able to solve a problem, there is going to be a lot of demotivation. So there is no point. Yeah, I'll just look at the chat after some time. So there is no point, in solving problems which are very, very hard. Because ultimately, when you're starting, you don't need problem solving skills. You need motivation. You need confidence. If your confidence is going to break, you're going to end up quitting like those 90% people who quit before reaching 1250. Why do they quit before reaching 1250? Because not because they're not good problem solvers, not because they're not hardworking, but because they don't find the right motivation, but because they're not confident enough to go forward, right? So that's the thing. Like, what you need to do is you need to start with the easiest problem. Let me show you how do you choose easiest problems. Go on Codeforces, go into the problem set, apply a rating tag of 800. 800 is the smallest rating, okay? The higher the rating of the problem, the more difficult it is. Apply a rating of 800 to 800. Sort the problems by the number of submissions and start solving problems from here. Probably solve 10 to 12 problems. If you realize that, okay, these are all easy problems, just skip some problems, move to the next problems, okay? Keep doing this. Let's suppose you end up at a point where 800 level problems seem very easy to you. Then what do? Then you go for 900. Then you go for 1000, all of these things, okay?
Priyansh, what do you think about A2OG ladder?
A2OG ladder is like a pretty old ladder at the moment. Like I don't really recommend A2OG to anybody. I instead recommend this CSES problem set.
Oh, got it. Thanks.
This is also a set of problems that you can
And
look at.
how much problem from each ladder set?
How many problems from?
From each ladder set, like 800. How many questions should I do for each rating?
How I like to do it is that, like what this person is asking is that, okay, आपने ये तो बोल दिया कि 800 level problems करो, but कितनी करनी है, right? How I like to do it is that I do around 80 to 100 problems of every rating range. Now again, it might be the case that 800 is very easy for me, so I will not do any problems of it. I will just directly jump to 900. Whenever I find a place where I'm getting a little uncomfortable, well, let's suppose I'm solving 1000 rated problems, and if I feel a bit uncomfortable, I'll solve 80 to 100 problems out of it, and then I will move to the next rating range. For me, 80 to 100 was a fine number. After every rating range, if I used to solve 80 to 100 problems, I used to feel very, very comfortable, right? So that is how I used to solve problems on Codeforces. And along the way, you also learn topics, right? You also need to learn topics. Fine. Now there is one thing here. Should you be solving problems topic wise or random problem solving? That's a very difficult problem or a question to answer. Initially, what you should do is you should go for random problem solving. Just try to understand how online judges work. How do you submit problems? How do you come up with logic on your own, right? Once you understand that, okay, I don't know about dynamic programming, but dynamic programming is being asked. Okay, that's the point where you go for dynamic programming. That's how things change. Fine. Initially, you start with random problem solving. As you realize that, okay, these are the topics in which you are weak, you go for topic-based problem solving. Fine. And finally, what you can do is you can follow this rule of x minus 200 to x plus 200. If your rating is x on code forces, for example, if this person, like I opened the profile of some person here. If this person is 20 to 82 rated on code forces, the rating range of problems that they should be trying out should be from 2000 up till 2500 or 2400. Okay. Let's suppose you want to gain some confidence. You're not feeling very well today. Solve a problem which is rated x minus 200. Let's suppose you're very energetic today. You want to solve very difficult problems. Solve an x plus 200 rated problem. That's how things work.
Also, this profile seems very fake. Huh?
This profile seems very
fake.
Very fake. Yeah, I mean, it could be. You could probably pick up some other profile, like maybe this one. It's absolutely fine. Like, it doesn't matter which profile is fake, which is not. Like, this is your rating graph.
It seems too real.
Yeah, this seems too
really
real.
good.
Cool. So yeah, that is it about problems to practice. Talking about platforms that you can choose, Codeforce is one of the best platforms. Secondly, you could go for CSCS problems. Like, this is an amazing problem set, just absolutely amazing. This one. Okay, if you're going for competitive programming, don't go for Stiver's SD sheet. Don't go for LubBubber's 450 questions. Go for this sheet. This is an absolutely amazing sheet for competitive programmers. Like, I can tell you from my own experience, when I started with dynamic programming, I followed all these problems, and after completing all of these problems, I was at a point where I could think about new DP problems on my own. Similar was the case for me in case of trees. Where is trees? I don't know where it went.
But how do you sort them in terms of like easy to hardest?
They are already sorted from easy to hardest.
Oh, so they're already sorted. We have to pick one by one.
Correct. Every section is sorted from easy to hard.
Okay, nice.
Like, I even did a dynamic programming playlist here, where I just picked up every single problem from this problem set of dynamic programming and I started solving them. And I've actually explained every single problem. So every single day I post one video in this playlist. You can even check it out if you want. But yeah, you can do it after this class or this session. Maybe I can share the link.
So even in the interviews, did they allow us to use STLs?
Yep, they allow you to use standard template library. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
How much division problems for candidate master?
How much? Sorry, can you repeat that?
Division 2 problems should I solve to be a candidate master on a contest?
You need to solve 4 problems consistently to become a candidate master. This is for everyone. If you want to become a candidate master, you need to solve 4 problems consistently in every single Codeforces division 2 round. You will end up becoming a candidate master. If you want to solve, if you want to go for master, you need to solve either 5 problems or you need to solve 4 very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Okay.
Like, 4th problem needs a lot of extra concepts than other 3 problems. No?
Extra concepts as in? Which extra concepts are you talking about?
As in, like, first 3 problems, like ABC, requires some basic concepts. But like for 4th problem, you need to study a lot of different algorithms.
Different algorithms like dynamic programming, graphs, trees, segment trees, sparse tables, all of these things, right? Yeah, these are advanced topics.
Is 3rd year already too late to reach a good enough rank in Codeforces?
Depends on how much time you're willing to spend. If you don't have time at all, like you're willing to only spend 1 hour a day, then it might be difficult to become a candidate master. In fact, very, very difficult. But if you're willing to spend 3 to 4 hours a day, I think it's a pretty achievable feat.
And also, like, I also have a similar situation. I'm also in the 3rd year, 5th semester. So within like 6 or 8 months, I will have my internships and placement season. And I have done my DS and all, and I'm now I'm getting into CP and all. So I'm really interested to like give contest in Codeforces. So should I like really get into this CP area or should I go for placement preparation?
What is placement preparation?
in terms of like getting with computer networks, all these major subjects and DSA and all? Or should I get
Yes, you
into
said you're
CP?
already done. So computer networks, if you talk about it, I
Like-
think it's a game of around 2 weeks. If you spend the last 2 weeks, you will be able to do computer networks. Matlab, I don't think you need like 2 to 3 months to do computer networks, or not just computer networks, but entire computer science fundamentals, including computer networks, operating systems, DBMS,
DBMS.
object-oriented programming.
Okay, and तो मतलब मुझे करना चाहिए CP वगैरह भी इस टाइम?
I mean, it would be great. Like if you want to, just stand out a bit, it would be great. And again, like, it depends on your interest. Like if you're not interested in CP, then it doesn't make sense to do CP.
नहीं,
You could probably
actually,
go for some,
एक्चुअली मैंने स्टार्टिंग में किया था कोड शेफ पे सेकंड ईयर वगैरह में, पर मैं काफी इंटरेस्ट था करने में, लेकिन मैंने इतना एफर्ट पुट नहीं किया, और एक साल मैंने एक तरह से बहुत ही बेसिक लेवल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने में लगा दिया, तो मतलब मैंने लाइक आउट ऑफ कंफर्ट वाले क्वेश्चन नहीं करे, तो अब मुझे से रियलाइज होता कि मतलब मुझे करने चाहिए थे वो सारे क्वेश्चन जो मेरे एरिया के बाहर है कंफर्टेबल के, तो अभी मैं भी सोच रहा था कि मुझे करूँ या ना करूँ.
Cool. And I think we'll take up next all the other questions after this. Okay.
Sure.
Talking about which contests you should start with, these are the contests. You could probably take a screenshot of this and save it. These are 4 contests that I recommend everyone to give. Code Chef starters, Code Forces rounds, Division 3 and Division 4. See, when you talk about Code Forces, there is a division system. The higher the division, like Div 4 and Div 3, these are easier problems, easier contests. Division 1 and 2 are for people who are higher rated. Okay. And similarly, ad coder beginner contests are just amazing. And finally, I would also suggest going for lead code weekly and bi-weekly. Even though I am not a very lead code fan here, but like I recently was looking at the lead code contest and I saw that the 4th problem in every single contest is coming out to be pretty interesting. So you could try out lead code weekly and bi-weekly as well. Like I somehow feel that lead code is trying to maybe copy Code Forces in a slight way by including an interesting problem as the last problem. But yeah, still Code Forces rounds are something that I would prefer giving compared to lead code rounds.
Hi, Priyansh. If I want to apply internships and marks are approved,
I'll
shall
come
I
to all
do?
the questions after this. I'll come to all the questions after this. Okay. So I think we're pretty much done. Like I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, there are some best practices that you could take up. If you join a community, it would be great. Like doing competitive programming alone might seem very difficult. That okay, if you're stuck in a problem, you don't have anybody to help you with. You don't find people who are doing similar things. Right. One way to do this, help with this, is to join a community. Secondly, you could just do some posting on LinkedIn, Twitter. You could start by posting about your own competitive programming progress, and somehow you will be able to find more people who are interested in that field, right? So you could join some community. You could even join the TLE community that we have here. Like, I don't know if I have the link. I'll have to stop sharing for a minute, okay? Just a second. Okay, I have some of my laptop being shown in the entire video. Just a second. I'll just provide the link of the TLE community that we're running, like the free community that is there, and you can join that. This is the link. Somebody said joining contest is only way for beginners, or they should also solve problems after the contest. You should solve problems after the contest, obviously. Okay. First is community. Second is, you should get out of your comfort zone. Like I told you this rule, right? X minus 200 to X plus 200 rule. X minus 200 are those problems which will be easy for you. Okay. X plus 200 or X plus 100 will be the problems which will be difficult for you. They will put you a bit outside your comfort zone. Okay. So ultimately what you want to do is you want to solve problems which put you outside your comfort zone, where you learn new things, right? That's the goal of doing CP, right? Learning new things, becoming better at problem solving. If you continue to solve problems which are in your comfort zone, you will not be learning anything new. Okay. So secondly, everybody says this, consistency is the most important thing. You could probably do CP for 2 months and then leave it for 8 months. Then all the efforts that you put in those 2 months will be gone. This is very similar to maths. Okay. Most of you who would have done proper maths practice would know that if you leave maths for a very long time, you don't end up starting at that same point. right? So what you could do is that even on a bad day, like even if you have your exams, just solve one problem. If you do just this much, it will be fine. Okay. I mean, the best way would be to solve 2 to 3 problems every single day. That would be the best way, ideal way, to improve in a very short span of time. But if you're somebody like who doesn't want that quick growth, who's okay with having a slightly gradual growth, one problem a day is also fine. Okay. And finally, I want to touch upon this point, which is not really touched upon by a lot of people, which is that, it is not about competing always. When you look at competitive programming, we always say that it is very, very competitive. You have to get a better rank, you have to get a better rating. But, there are two aspects to it. One is when you're performing or, participating in a contest. Second is when you're, discussing problems with other people, right? There are two aspects. When you're actually participating in a contest, it is very, competitive. You have to get the best rank that is out there. But when you're outside a contest, when the contest has ended, when you want to discuss solutions with other people after the contest, not talking about discussing solutions within the contest, that doesn't help in any way. Okay. After the contest, if you're discussing solutions, if you're helping other people, that is what is preferred. Okay. You should be preferring collaboration more than competition after the contest. Because at that point, you will be learning a lot more stuff when you are somebody who is willing to give up your knowledge, give your knowledge to other people. Okay. When you help other people, they will help you. As simple as that. When you're joining a community, that's how people help each other. When you help somebody, they help you. Okay, so you have to take that initiative of helping people. Never go with this mindset that, okay, I will be competing, I know about segment trees, I will not be teaching segment trees to anybody else. Right? Fine, any doubts? Let's have a quick doubt session for probably 2-3 minutes. Before we
Sir, I do have one doubt, sir. Hello?
Yes, please go on.
Sir, I just need I'm just struggling with the foundation itself, sir. I need how to get a steel or a strong frame of understanding in CP, sir.
How do you get a strong foundation? First of all, solve some problems, some random problems on good forces, right? Once you realize that, okay, you are not good with math problems, solve a lot of math problems. When you realize that you're not good with greedy problems, solve a lot of greedy problems. That's how people improve. And overall, if you want to learn topics, you could, just somebody saying some good resources. See, there are a lot of YouTube channels. Like, first of all, I'll just type out some names in the chat. If you want resources, there are a lot of YouTube channels. First is Eric Pro. This is my favorite. I mean, you could check out my channel as well if you. Secondly, there is,
Colin Gallen.
There is William Fissett. Then there is Colin.
Colin, yes.
Yeah, you could check out these. You could also check out TLDL Amnita's YouTube channel now because I am posting a lot of content on that. Yeah, Code and Code as well. Somebody wrote Code and Code in the chat. Yes, Code and Code is great. But I think Code and Code, like somehow that channel got hacked. So all the videos were taken down as far as I remember it. But if that channel still exists, you could check it out. Free Code Camp is not for competitive programming.
By the way, Code and Code created a new channel and he somehow like got 80 to 90% of the videos through backup. So yeah.
Interesting. I don't keep a backup of my videos. So if someday somebody blows up my YouTube channel, they would all be gone.
We'll be there to subscribe.
Don't worry, sir. I download all problems. I'll share you.
I mean, nowadays a 2 TB hard disk is cheap, by the way.
Yeah. But like the thing is that I will still have to download all the videos from my YouTube channel. I'm like, okay, ठीक है, मतलब जा रहे तो जाने दो, क्या ही कर सकते
Man,
हैं.
you're a programmer. You can just write a script.
Correct. That's a good point, actually.
You are great motivator. Like I have started my whole CP journey just because of it. Thank you so much.
That means a lot. That means
like
a lot.
it means a lot to me to talk with you. Like it was a that all college for a CP hackathon, like
Oh,
SPIT
great.
Mumbai. Yeah. Afterwards, I started following you, and I'm following you since 8 months.
Oh, damn. that really means a lot to me. Thank you so much for that.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yep.
I am in currently first year, sir. How to start with the CP, sir? Can you roadmap or resources you
अभी
can
तो
suggest?
बताया roadmap. अभी तो बताया roadmap. I just right now told you the roadmap.
Means I'm asking clearly that how to master a language like that. Even practicing of different aspects. There's a vast language C++.
Well, this would require, see, this I cannot answer in like probably a minute. This would require a very long discussion. What you could do is you can DM me on LinkedIn or probably on Discord. If I see your message, I'll be able to give you. but I will not be able to cover something as basic as this in a very big session where everybody
Sir,
is
please give
capable
some
to
insights
handle.
about TLE 9.2. I am really willing to join you.
Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about it. Like I just take probably 5 minutes. I'll also talk about TLE 9.0 as well.
By the way, like, have you given any Div 3 contest in Code Forces?
Recently, or
Like
like
in the
way
past
back?
as well?
Yeah, I've given a lot of Div 3 contests.
So by the way, do they have like any DSA questions, or they are all of them are purely just logical ones and math?
I think the last 4 problems are like they involve DS as well. Like I have seen a lot of dynamic programming, graphs, trees, segment trees, all of these things. Yes.
In Div 3 contest, like.
Yes. I mean, see, it's not about the type of contest. Like even Div 3 contest is going to have easier problems and difficult problems, right? The
Okay.
last few problems are still going to be difficult. So it is going to be around those topics.
And so quick question: how did you get your internship in Goldman Sachs? I mean,
how did I get an internship?
Yes, I mean, what was the process, like questions and
actually,
and
see,
DSA
what I'll do is you can go on Twitter, search for complete Goldman Sachs guide Priyansh Agarwal. Just search this much. Probably put it
Okay.
out on Google. You will be able to find it. I have clearly mentioned every single thing that was there in the process.
And also,
why
have you given the aptitude exam?
Yeah, there was an aptitude exam as well.
Okay.
Okay, I think yeah.
Why didn't you
let's-
try
let's-
for Google, even getting rank 1 in
I
Kickstarter?
tried for Google, but they just ghosted me after they ended up hitting recession. So I had my Google interviews last year. The recruiter reached out to me, and we had 3 rounds of interviews. In all of these 3 rounds, I performed very, very well. Like I even ended up asking Striver for telling me the feedback of all my rounds. And Striver told me that okay, I got a strong hire for every single round, but somehow recession hit. Then they forgot about all the applications of the people who applied at that time, and then they didn't revert back. That's how it was. So yeah.
So
And
even
have you
if
tried
now
for
you
reference?
get now if you will get an offer from Google, so will you join along with managing TLE?
Yeah, I mean, Google doesn't make you work a lot, right? So I would join.
Okay.
But
I
I mean, they
always
aren't
wanted to
hiring.
ask this question.
Google, Microsoft, all of these people are not hiring. Somebody said tier 3 college, no group for CP, almost alone. भाई TLE community join करो, अभी तो link share किया तुम्हारे साथ. I think I shared it, right?
Then you said solving 3 problems daily out of your comfort zone, but even solving those 3 problems takes like the whole day. So how to deal with that?
No, it doesn't take the whole day. Like, see, I mean, I could go about telling you about TLE eliminators, but then you would say that it's a promotion. So how I like to help people is that we have this doubt support system at TLE eliminators, right? So when people are stuck on problems, they come and ask doubts. There are people who are very, very high rated, experts, candidate masters, even myself. We help these people get the solution of those problems, not just by telling them the solution, but by telling them the intuition, giving them some hints, then also helping them debug their code. So all of these things are there, but this is like a premium feature that we offer at TLE eliminators that helps people solve problems faster and get the solutions of the
So
problems faster.
what should be an ideal time for a single question? I
That
should
would be a good
invest
question
in.
to ask. Yes, that's a good question to ask. So when you're looking at a problem, just spend probably 40 to 60 minutes thinking about it. Okay. Don't spend any more time thinking about a problem because in most cases you will not be able to solve it if you're done spending 60 minutes thinking about it. Okay. So spend 60 minutes honestly. Okay. It's not like saying कि आपने timer लगा दिया 60 minutes और wait कर रहे हो यार कब खत्म हो जाए and then मैं solution देखूं ऐसे नहीं. Give an honest try of 60 minutes. Keep a timer, keep a watch, anything. After 60 minutes, take some hints from the editorial. Okay. After you take some hints, start thinking again. Start thinking for probably 20 more minutes. Then take some more hints from the editorial. If eventually you're not able to understand anything, look at the entire solution of the editorial, be done with it. As simple as that. But always remember you have to code the problem on your own. Don't rely on the code in the editorial and then just say that, okay, I also know the code. Code it yourself.
So in the worst case, it may take around 2 hours for a particular question.
Yeah, I mean 2 hours, but I am not including the implementation time here, right? Like in some cases, you might be debugging your code for an hour. So that's fine.
Thank you.
Debugging your code for an hour is fine, but thinking on a problem for 2 hours, 3 hours is not fine in my opinion.
Like my code got correct answers for starting 8 test cases and it got stuck on 9th one and I'm not able to find what's the problem with it. So how should I get that solved?
You need to get good at debugging. You need to see there are 2 things. There is one thing known as stress testing. Has anybody heard about it? Stress testing?
No.
Stress testing is the
No,
place where
sir.
you create a lot of random test cases, a lot of test cases. You run your code on these test cases. See, there are two things. There is your code, which is going to have an algorithm, yeah, right? And you are going to say that, okay, is this code correct or not? Then there is going to be a brute force algorithm, which is not so optimal, but it gives you the right result every single time. You can keep your code and your brute force code, run them together on the same input, and do this for a lot of random test cases. Like you can write a script for it, like a small script inside your code itself. The very code or the very test case where your code is giving a different output than your brute force code, just print that. When you print that, you would know that, okay, this is failing. Does that
Oh,
seem
nice. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, that's the most obvious thing that you should do. But this is time consuming. Like in a contest, if you're doing something like this, it's going to take a lot of time. But there is this thing also known as a debugging template. Like you can just Google it up. You will find it on my profile again. You can search for Priyansh Agarwal debugging template. You can search for this.
One more thing. Today you tweeted about a project that, like, for those guys who don't have good projects in their resume and they can develop projects related to code, competitive programming and code using Codeforces API. Can you tell more about it, please?
Yeah, there is this, when you go on Codeforces, there is this API section. It has a bunch of APIs. For example, you could ask Codeforces to give you all the details of a user. You could send in a handle like Priyansh31tech. Codeforces will tell you all the details. What is the first name? What is the last name? What is the country? What is the college? All of these things, right? That is one of the APIs. The other API is that you could, you could search for a problem. You could search for the submissions of a person, which problems somebody has solved. See, if you want a project idea, I can give you one project idea right now. This is a very common project idea. What you could do is you could make a tool which tells the person which problems they haven't solved from a contest and pings them to upsolve them. I told you this thing, right? That upsolving is very important after a contest. You could make a tool which fetches all the contest submissions of a person, and it tells that person, okay, that this problem you haven't upsolved from this contest that you gave 1 year ago. Go and upsolve that problem. Do you think that tool would be helpful? I think it would be helpful for somebody.
That would be really good.
Yeah, definitely.
So these are many tools, right? Even if you put these in your resume, these are very good tools. And trust me, like, if you're not finding users to use that tool, you can come to me, you can DM me. I am somebody who loves promoting these things, who loves being around competitive programmers. So you can come and tell me that, okay, this is the tool that I've made. I would be happy to tweet about it. I would be happy to put a LinkedIn post about it. I would be happy to help you get users. If that is what you want, to try out your tool, to give you feedback, to help you improve. Okay? मतलब अगर आप एक Instagram clone बनाने वाले हो ना, तो Instagram clone कोई use नहीं करने वाला. But if you make a tool that is helpful, that actually solves a problem, that is something that people will use. When you put something like that on your resume, it has much more weight than you saying that I know Monster. Okay? Even if you, and I can say this publicly here as well. If you make something which is out of the box, which is just amazing, I would be happy to integrate it on TLE's website. I would be happy to pay you for that. If you do something like that.
हेलो मतलब मैं एक आइडिया के साथ आया था, बट मैं अपने को इम्प्लीमेंट का इतना मतलब ये नहीं है नॉलेज, बट हाँ आइडिया स्ट्रांग है और मैं उसके लिए सीख भी रहा हूँ. सो अगर मतलब मैं इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहूँ तो मतलब थोड़ा बहुत गाइडेंस मिल सकता है अभी नहीं, बट बाद
आई
में.
मीन सी, मैं उतना डेवलपमेंट में अच्छा नहीं हूँ, मतलब तुम मुझे आइडिया बता दो. अगर आइडिया बहुत बढ़िया है, सॉलिड है, तो आई कैन हेल्प. आई कैन गेट माय टेक टीम हेल्प यू.
ओके, नाइस.
आई कैन डू दैट. मतलब मेरे पास इतना टाइम ही नहीं है कि मैं तुम्हारा कोड एकदम स्टडी करूँ.
नहीं, बस थोड़ा गाइडेंस अपना खुद का खुद कर सकते हैं, बस थोड़ा
आई कैन
पाथ
हेल्प यू
एकदम.
गेट कनेक्टेड विद माय टेक टीम. दैट्स व्हाट आई कैन डू. बट मतलब मेरे लिए तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट होगा टू स्पेयर आउट
नहीं,
टाइम फॉर दिस.
मुझे ऐसा टेक टीम से, हाँ वही ना, कि मुझे एक पाथ चाहिए कि
हाँ,
भाई
बट
तू ये कर
आई मीन
सकता
द
है यहाँ
आइडिया
यहाँ
हैज टू
से.
बी अ बिट सॉलिड. मतलब कुछ ऐसा
हाँ
बढ़िया होना चाहिए तभी उसका सेंस.
हाँ, बढ़िया ही है, मस्त है.
Cool. Now guys, let's talk a bit about TLE. थोड़ा सा बता देता हूँ. I will not go into a lot of it because then you'll say कि भाई promotional content बता रहे हो तुम. तो थोड़ा सा बता देता हूँ TLE Eliminators के बारे में. What exactly is it? This is a startup that I've been running for the last 2.5 years, right? We've taught more than 4,700 programmers, and all the tips and tricks that I've just told you, we make sure that anybody who joins TLE, they end up following all of these things, right? I told you about consistency. I told you about community. I told you about going outside your comfort zone. These are all the things that we look at TLE Eliminators. I also told you about this thing that, okay, you should be solving 2 to 3 problems every single day, right? On Codeforces or on any of the competitive programming platforms. This is exactly what we do at TLE Eliminators. We have 4 levels. Level 1 is for people who don't know any language, who are complete beginners, who don't know anything. Okay, you can come for level 1. We will be having a 3-month training where we'll be teaching you C++, STL. We'll also teaching you how to identify patterns in problems. We'll also teach you stuff like maths for competitive programming. We'll also teach you searching and sorting and some sort of bit manipulation as well, right? Every single thing that is required to solve the first problem on code forces that we teach in level 1. Similarly is the case for level 2. These are people who can solve first problem on code forces, but require some more help in learning probably topics like recursion, backtracking, bit manipulation. I think I have some background noise. Yeah. Right. So this is for level 2. Like we end up teaching you topics which are going to be catering for the second problem on code forces. Similarly, when you look at level 3, there are topics like greedy, advanced greedy. There are topics like advanced number theory. Then there is string hashing. Then there is tries, right? Tries on strings, tries on binary numbers. Then there is binary search, advanced binary search, interactive problems, all of these things, right? So every single level is a 3 months long program. And how we have designed the entire curriculum is that we know that, for a particular person, every single thing is not relevant. Like if you are a complete beginner, if I end up teaching you dynamic programming, you are not going to make sense out of it. But if you are somebody who's experienced enough, and if I teach you C++, STL, you would say that, okay, what are you teaching me? You're wasting my time, right? So every single level, all of these 4 levels, as you progress to a higher level, the difficulty of the concepts that we teach you also increases. And every single level is a 3 months long program. And rather, it is a 12 weeks long program, wherein every single week we cover certain concepts. We have 2 to 3 lectures every single week. And then we give you practice problems every single day. Okay. Now see, we don't just give you practice problems, we also help you track those problems. Like for example, if I give you a code forces problem, and let's suppose you have already solved that problem, right? How will you track it? We do that for you on our website itself. You give us your code forces handle. Like I told you this about code forces API, right? This is exactly what we do on our website. We have a lot of features which relate to the code forces API. One of them being that, okay, if I give you a bunch of problems, I can directly know that have you solved that problem or not. And if you solve a problem, you get a score for it. You also end up getting a rank on the TLE leaderboard. Okay. So if you want, I can even show you this entire thing a bit. Just a second. I think I'll have to stop sharing for a second. Like I can show you how it looks like from the internal side. Again, I won't take a lot of your time because for people who are not interested, it's absolutely fine. But for people who are interested, it might be interesting. Like it might be useful for you.
We are very interested.
Okay. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. So I'll show you what some level and TLE eliminators looks like. I can show you DP bootcamp probably. Like this is something that we did recently. Okay. So when you go on this, like this is the learnings page. You can go into any like week here. Like I said, there are weeks, right? Okay. In the TLE levels, when you look at these TLE levels, there are 12 weeks, 12 to 13 weeks. Okay. When we look at the DP bootcamp, it was just about like 4 weeks. So I'll just show you DP bootcamp. Okay. So in every single week, there are problems that we give you, right? For example, in week 4, these are the problems that were given to you. Right now, we've only given the problems for day 1 and day 2 because only these problems have passed. Okay. Going forward, as the days pass, more problems are given to you every single day. Okay. We also have this feature for checking out video solutions. Right now, we have it integrated in a Google Sheet, but starting with the next batch, starting from TLE Eliminators 9.2, it will be available right on the website. Okay. So what you can do is you can go onto this, check out the solution right away. Right, all of these things. We also have this feature where you can check how many people have solved a particular problem. Okay, all of this is handled using Codeforces API. We can also do the sync submissions. What this does is that it automatically syncs which problems you have solved. For example, you would see some problems that I have solved. For example, these problems I have solved already. When I go and submit a problem on Codeforces and I click on sync submissions, it will automatically sync that. And it will give me a score here. It will tell me how many percentage of the scoreable problems I have solved. And it will give me a rank on the TLE leaderboard as well. Okay. All the people who come at the top of the leaderboard, they end up getting goodies as well. Okay. I mean, that's a side thing. I mean, not really important. But yeah, that's how things work. Like, I don't usually solve problems in this, so you will find 0% of my course completed because this is my ID. But for anybody else, you would find some percentage that they've completed. You can find the video lectures here, all the video lectures. You can watch the video lecture, and along with the video lecture, you get the problems here. Yeah, I think this was DP bootcamp, right? Yeah. So that's how it looks like for TLE eliminators. And yeah, in terms of what we offer as features, this was just one thing that, okay, we give you live classes, we give you problems, we give you a tracking system to track those problems. The main thing that, is there on TLE eliminators is this concept of instant out support. Like if you're stuck on a problem, you can come on a Discord. You can raise a query. There will be a person dedicated for that, like a high-rated person. You can even look at our mentors from here, maybe. Like these are the mentors who are there with us right now. So people are experts, candidate masters, even masters, all of these things. Right. So these are the people who come and help you with every single query. And like on an average, almost 100 queries are created every single day. So there are so many people who are there in the team. There are so many people, I mean, so many mentors in the team. We also actually pay our mentors very well to make sure that, you know, we end up giving services which are better than probably other edtech brands, like maybe Coding Ninjas or maybe an academy, all of these things. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much it about TLE. I would not go into the other details. You could check out TLE Eliminators 9.0. We'll be launching it in the last week of November.
Sir, may you show the Discord part?
Sure, just give me a second. I'll have to, you know, delete some stuff from my Discord because I have a lot of DMs open. I can show you how Discord looks like as well.
Okay, sir.
Good evening, Priyansh. Am I audible?
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I mean, I'm a 23 graduate, right now working in a service-based company. I don't have too much work pressure though. So would you like to recommend something for me, as I wanted to improve my problem solving skills?
Can you just repeat? You're like a graduate, and then
Yeah, I'm a 23 graduate. I wanted to improve my problem solving skills. So I am also doing code forces a little bit on the go, but I'm not able to give too much time to it. So could you provide me a path or something like that?
I mean, the path is simple. You have to solve 2 to 3 problems a day. I don't know of any other path. Like, you know, there's no bonus trick or bonus advice that I can give you which will work for you. It is just that you solve a lot of problems, you end up becoming comfortable with those problems. Right. So this is how the Discord looks like. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Fine, thank you.
For example, this is the DP bootcamp right now. So if you look at it, there are no unresolved queries. There is a section which is called unresolved. Okay. Like right now, TLE Eliminators 8.0 has ended. What happens is that we have a create a query button here. I think I'll be able to create a query right now. So I can put some random stuff here. So you have to come here, create a query. This ends up creating a doubt for you. Okay. So yeah, I think this is taking some time to create a doubt. I think it has created. Yeah. So has somebody already picked my query? No. So yeah, it came into the unresolved section, right? Yeah. I created a query. It comes into the unresolved section. Right now, you will not be able to see people here, but what ends up happening is that there are these mentors that we have in our team, right? Somebody comes and picks up this query. Okay. They mark it in progress. Like right now, I have picked my own query because I have the admin rights. Okay. But I think even I cannot do it. No, I can. Yeah. So it comes in the in progress. Does it come? Yeah. In the in progress, you will see it here. Now, this is the place where doubts are actually getting resolved. Once I resolve my doubt, I don't know if I can do it on my own, like if that is allowed. Once I resolve my doubt, let's suppose I hang greenery. I run this command and I hope it resolves my doubt. Yeah. So I resolve my doubt. I put a rating here. Let's suppose 5. And my doubt moves from in progress to unresolved, to resolved section. Right. So the doubt came here. So essentially what happens is that you create a doubt. This is all in-house. We have built it from scratch. This is no, like it is not a Discord feature. We built it from scratch. We built a bot on it. So you come, you create queries. We also monitor it that, okay, how many queries a person is creating? Are these queries being answered on time or not? What is the rating every single query is getting? Is this mentor actually resolving a query or not? All of these things are actually tracked. Okay. These are all automated. And finally, you know, when the query comes into the result section, it is for you to check it out even after the query is resolved. Okay. Actually, what will happen in a query is that there will be an interaction between the mentor. I'll show you some query maybe. Like if you look at this query, what happened here was that, okay, he said that this is a doubt that he had. What we do is that when somebody shares a screenshot, when they don't share a link, we end up muting them for 24 hours. Why do we do this? Because we don't want TLE to become a place where people come and cheat. Okay, we don't want to provide solutions for currently ongoing coding contests. Fine. So we make sure that, okay, if somebody is putting out a screenshot, we only help them after 24 hours. But for everybody else who is not putting a screenshot, we help them instantly. Okay. So this is what you see here. Like there is some some doubt that was happening. I think this was a very small doubt, but you could go for some other doubt probably. And that's how it looks like in terms of, I think this was also a pretty small doubt only. I'll go somewhere up maybe. Right. So here the person has shared the code that, okay, this is my code. I'm getting a memory limit exceeded on this. Somebody said, yeah, it's showing memory limit exceeded. Then the mentor interacted. Some stuff happened. Like these are very small queries, but generally the queries end up going pretty long. Okay. So that's how the entire doubt resolution system works. Okay. You can come and interact here with the text.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Got it, sir. Got the idea.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much it.